Hi friends, we always blame for our anxiety and adversities to either ourselves or others. But we never try to find the answers of our sorrowful lives and dissatisfaction. Instead of thinking positively, we keep recalling our own misery. We become so obsessed of such a thought that engrave in our subconscious mind. In contrast, our problem multiplied despite of all attempts to overcome. One day, one of my friends, Raj, came to me and talked about power of subconscious mind and what you can get through subconscious mind and how it could help you to overcome your failure and problems. I listened to him until he finished. I told him there is nothing like that and we fail because we are not acquired with required skills, ability and education. I was totally disagree with whatever he told me about power of subconscious mind. But then I returned to home and started thinking of subconscious mind and its power. I agreed myself that let me give a chance to my subconscious mind to change my destiny. I started Google and found two books which really changed my perspective towards power of subconscious mind. That is Power of Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon. Let's understand what is conscious mind and subconscious mind. The conscious mind, the decision what we make, the thoughts what we hold in our mind, seeing through our eyes and understanding. All these activities happen because of your conscious mind, while your subconscious mind connected to the infinite intelligence, connected to the innate power, to the universe. When your thought become belief, whether it is positive or negative, it will engrave in your subconscious mind. When you repeatedly say to your friend that you cannot afford to buy a car, you cannot afford to go for a lavish dinner, then your subconscious mind accept your words and start executing it, and it will deprive you from owning or experiencing what you want. If you think good, good will follow. If you think evil, evil will follow. This is the way your mind works. Once the subconscious mind accepts the idea, it begins to execute. Friends, let me tell you a story which reveals the power of subconscious mind and how it can help a man to achieve his desire and goal. It's a story of Mr. Frank Gonzalez, who began his preaching career in the Stockyard region of South Chicago. While Dr. Frank was going through college, he observed many defects in educational system, defects which he believed he could correct it if he were the head of the college. His deepest desire was to become the directing head of an educational institution in which young men and women would be taught learn by doing. He made up his mind to organize a new college in which he could carry out his ideas without being handicapped by traditional method of education. Mr. Frank needed $1 million to put the project across. Every night, he took that thought to bed with him. He got up with it in the morning. He took it with him everywhere he went. He turned it over and over in his mind until it became a consuming obsession with him. He recognized that fact, but he also recognized the truth that the only limitation is that which one sets up in his own mind. Being a philosopher as well as a preacher, Mr. Frank knew power of subconscious mind. And besides all, he didn't know where or how to lay his hands on $1 million. The majority of people would give up the idea of because of not able to find the way to organize $1 million. And that's what all we do. But from last 2 years, Mr. Frank sat in his room thinking of how he could raise money to carry out his plan. Mr. Frank had done nothing but only thinking from last 2 years. Then one day he determines that he would get $1 million within a week. He didn't know how it would happen, but the moment he reached to the decision, he had a strong feelings which he had never before. Things began to happen in hurry. Mr. Frank called the newspapers and announced he would preach the sermon next day morning entitled, "What I Would Do If I Had $1 million." Long before midnight, he had finished writing the sermon. He went to bed and slept with a feeling of confidence. Next morning, Mr. Frank prayed to God and had a feeling of assurance that money would be forthcoming. But Mr. Frank walked out without his notes to address to people, and it was too late to go back to collect the notes. But instead, Mr. Frank closed his eyes and prayed, and from his subconscious mind, he addressed his message and explained the plan. When Mr. Frank finished his talk, one gentleman, Mr. Armour from third row, made his way to Mr. Frank and told him that he liked Mr. Frank's plan and believes that Mr. Frank could do his best. The next day, Mr. Frank went to Mr. Armour's office and $1 million was presented to Mr. Frank. With that money, Mr. Frank founded Armour Institute of Technology. Mr. Frank's story teaches truly thoughts are things. Where there is a will, there is a way. The treasure is within you. Look within for the answer to your heart's desire. The great secret possessed by the great men of all ages was their ability to contact and release the power of subconscious mind. And that's what we can do the same. Once Emerson said, "We are what we think." Let me repeat you one more time. We are what we think. Friends, I believe you enjoyed the video and got deep insight of causes of success and failure. If you like my videos and want to see and learn more, please forget not to subscribe me and share with your friends to impart the learning. Thanks for watching me.